So we're down here on the grid then for this British F4 grid walk, which is the highlight event of Silverstone this year, the BRDC International Trophy, and what conditions we have with a wonderful, wonderful crowd down here have taken the opportunity to come and mingle with the drivers, with the cars, and see what it's all about here at Silverstone, because it's very unique that we get to be down on the grid and get close to the cars and also the drivers. Drivers are just kind of working their way back onto the grid now, so we're going to see who we can actually grab from down here, but as you can understand, it's quite warm. Many of the drivers wanted to keep as cool as possible for this one. So this is where the pole man will start, is George Proudford-Nalder. He's going to be the man who is on pole position for this final race of the weekend. He, of course, did the job in qualifying on Saturday, so he is the man who will, of course, have the quickest time from qualifying yesterday. So we'll see what he can come up with. He's not here at the minute by the looks of it, so we'll focus on second place on the grid. This is going to be the number 7 machine that we can see down here, so that's going to be Theo Palmer. And again, just seeing if Theo is around the car. I don't think he is. Don't think he's under the umbrella, unfortunately. So Theo's just disappeared from where we need him to be. I can see a few drivers actually third on the grid. That's where Ethan Jeff Hall and a couple of other team members find themselves. So let's go and have a little look at Ethan Jeff Hall. And that might be the first driver we can talk to on this British F4 grid walk. He's having a quick chat with the Argenti team and find out his thoughts over the course of the weekend so far. So Ethan is just with his team here, so we'll just turn Ethan around. Ethan, just come and join us here for a quick chat. And this is always a great thing to be able to do with a grid walk, of course, a little bit longer than what we're normally used to on the support bill of Toka, but it's nice that you've got the fans down here and some glorious weather at Silverstone for the final race of your weekend. Yeah,
this is the first for me having a grid walk like this, but it's really cool. Obviously, all the fans can see all the cars and what happens before we go out. So yeah, it should be a good race, and yeah, it's just a nice atmosphere, isn't it?
This is, of course, British F4, where everyone is on the run to Formula 1. That's where they all want to end up one day. This is, of course, the home of British motorsport. Of course, F1 will be here later in the year. It's always a pleasure to race around the Grand Prix circuit. How have you found it this weekend?
Yeah, it's tricky. The first race was good, but an unfortunate penalty dropped us down to P6, and then had a bit of a tricky reverse grid race this morning. But the pace has been really strong, so, I mean, looking for a good race in this one to end the weekend on a high.
Third on the grid for this one, then you've got a couple of cars ahead of you, all about the start, and then see what goes from there.
Yeah, I mean, we've been having some good starts this weekend, so hopefully we can have another one and see what it brings.
Good stuff. Thanks, Ethan. Good luck for the race, which will start in around about 20 minutes' time. So he'll be on the inside of row number 2. I can see as well Lewis Wherrell, who is the man alongside Ethan on what's going to be the second row of the grid. So we'll pop over and have a quick chat with Lewis. He's been in the wars this weekend. Of course, had a good race yesterday. Just going to have a quick photo with some of the fans down here. So we'll let him do that. As we said, it's all about the fans and spectators coming along and soaking up the atmosphere. And Lewis, we'll talk to you right now. This morning, probably not the best start to the race, but things did turn around pretty quickly after that red flag.
Yeah, ended up getting a penalty in the end for an incident with Dries. But yeah, forgotten about that. I'm ready to fight in this one.
And it's the early stages of the championship. As we know, you and Dries seem to be going hammer and tong all the way at the minute. There's a long way to go in this season, but every single point within this championship is very crucial.
I mean, yeah, we'll just keep scoring as well as we can and see what the end result is.
And from fourth on the grid, I'm sure you're going to be trying to look for a gap through there to get to the front as quick as possible.
Yeah, we know we've got the pace. We messed up quali from my side, to be honest. But yeah, we'll see if we can get another win.
Good stuff. Thanks, Lewis. We'll let you relax and enjoy the rest of your grid walk down here. We'll then move across and see if we can grab a quick word with Adam Alazari, who is next up on the grid. He's with our high-tech team. So, again, I can see Adam just standing by the car. So we'll head across and see if we can have a quick chat with Adam. He was good on the pace at Brands Hatch a few weeks ago in qualifying. That was in slightly different conditions to what we've got here at Silverstone, in terms of we had a bit of a greasy track. Adam gets the fist bump, which is always nice. Adam, nice to see again the fans down here, up close and personal with the cars that you get the privilege of driving. How's Silverstone been for you this weekend so far?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. P2 in race 1. And yeah, I mean, obviously the environment here is really nice. I didn't expect to see this many people, but yeah, it's really cool, and I'm really looking forward to this race.
We know you don't get too many sets of Pirelli tyres for the weekend, so it's all about managing them. How have you kind of managed them across the course of the conditions we've had here at Silverstone?
Yeah, I mean, it's always, we get like 2 sets in quali, So I used one good set in race 1, and then we used the same set for race 2, which is reverse grid. So yeah, that race went pretty well. I ended P5, started P8, and now I've got my good set on again. So yeah, looking forward to it.
You're sitting pretty good in the championship as we hit kind of the third way of the season so far. You've got one of the championship contenders just behind you, Dries Van Langendonck. You've got Lewis just up ahead of you as well. So you're very much in the mix for this final race of the weekend. Yeah, I agree. It's been a bit rough in the beginning of the season, but coming back strong now, and yeah, just going to try to do my best and beat them this race, yeah. Good stuff. Thanks, Adam, for your time. Good luck for the third and final race of the weekend for Wera British F4. And, of course, this is going to be the longest race for them this weekend. 25 minutes is always the third and final race duration for the drivers to get stuck into. We'll then move our way back and see if we can grab a quick word with Dries Van Langendonck. I can see that Alfie Slater is standing by as well. So two of the Rodin teammates together, which makes it easier for us to have a quick chat to the two drivers at once. We'll start with Dries because he's a slightly higher up on the grid. But Dries, Silverstone, let's talk about how this weekend has gone for you so far. Has it been a good one or a bad one?
I think most people would say a bad one, but yeah, I mean, definitely things we could have worked on. Obviously, still a decent position for this one, but got a penalty in race 1 and then pretty unlucky race 2. But yeah, definitely some things we can work on, and yeah, for sure, hopefully I can get a better result in this race.
And in terms of a championship year, we've got a lot to go through this year. We've had, of course, 10 rounds so far, 11 rounds now so far this year. Every weekend is not going to be a good one, is it? You've always got to take your highs and your lows along the way. So you can kind of scrub this one off, hopefully get a good result in this third and final race and move on in a few weeks' time to Zandvoort.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we learned the most for these weekends, for sure. Obviously, it's a difficult one to take sometimes, but yeah, long break in between, a lot of things to evaluate, and hopefully we can come back stronger in the next round.
And it's probably easy to forget for many people that you are in the rookie category as well. So you're fighting for a rookie championship amongst the overall championship as well.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, the main one I'm focusing on. The rookie one is also nice to win, but obviously I'm aiming for the main one, as a lot of drivers here, I think.
Good stuff. Thanks for your time, Dries. Good luck for the third and final race. And as Alfie's here, we'll have a quick chat with you as well. Alfie, nice to see you in British F4 for this season. We had some good races earlier in the year. I think Brands Hatch was one of those where the tyre choice was good. Unfortunately, the lap just got you down, didn't it? But that would have been a cracker if you could have pulled that one off.
Yeah, I mean, Brands probably what could have been. I mean, it didn't happen, but yeah, we had good speed, obviously with the fastest lap. Got a bit unlucky with the safety car and the fact that I wasn't allowed to unlap it when I boxed, but I mean, we live and we learn, and yeah, the speed was good, so we'll try and do that again this race.
Where are you on the grid? I haven't seen the grid for this one.
Oh, you don't want to know. Somewhere down that end. I don't even know myself.
Why have you found yourself up here then?
Completely ruined quali, to be honest. The pace wasn't great, and sort of set the standard for the weekend. I mean, like last race, got a bit unlucky with a crash that was out of my control. But yeah, definitely need to find a bit of speed, and yeah, we'll see what happens.
And of course, we're used to seeing you in Ginetta Juniors the last couple of seasons. Just trying to think back, have you ever raced on the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit?
Yeah, I did. I did a few laps around there.
It's not bad at all. So, of course, Dries is your teammate for Rodin. You've got a great team behind you. Hopefully, they've got the car set up perfectly for this third and final race for you.
Yeah, I mean, we hope so. Dries will be fast no matter what the car is, so it'll be whatever.
You just got to find him and follow him around.
Yeah, I'll do well to find him from back there, but we'll try.
He's got the bright orange car.
Yeah, you can't not see it.
Cheers, Alfie. Good luck for the race as well. Thanks very much for your time. Great to see that Dries is signing some autographs down here for the youngsters. And don't forget, this, as we said, is the road to Formula One. British F4 is a place where all the youngsters want to learn their trade and try and get up into the mix as much as possible. So you never know. These could be the stars of the future. If you think back to 2015, where Lando Norris was in this same championship, albeit a different name, he's worked his way, of course, to being Formula One world champion, so he's done very well indeed. Next up on the grid then, we're moving a little bit further back. We're still not quite a halfway down the field, but we can now find the number 9 machine on the grid. This is Kit Belofsky's car. Kit is not around at the minute, unfortunately, so we can't have a chat to him, so we'll carry on down and see who else we can find on this grid. We've got the number 15 machine, which is going to be Joseph Smith. Of course, he was a winner earlier on and finds himself just creeping up the championship order, which is nice to see. So He's also missing for the time being as well. I think Timo Junglin, is he about? No, possibly not by the looks of it, as Hani Sadiq works his way to the front of the grid. And the reason that most of the drivers are working their way to the front is because we're going to have a lovely group photo with the F4 drivers. So what I think we'll do, we'll turn around, we'll take our cameraman Andy and we'll go back to the front because I think that's where most of the drivers are heading. But there's a lovely group of people all the way down the back. And as I said, it's so busy down here, which is really nice to see. So a great field of spectators that have taken the opportunity to come along to the racing today at Silverstone, and they are admiring everything down here on the grid for the time being. So let's work our way a little bit closer to the front. And of course, you saw the start of this grid walk with the BRDC International Trophy, which is going to be awarded to the race winner of this final race of the weekend. It's a prestigious event, which I'm sure Martin and Josh and Paul and Alistair will be able to talk you through across the course of the race, which we have coming up for you. But I can now see drivers down there, which is good. So I think that photo is very shortly to be taking place, and that will give us another opportunity to try and find a few more people to talk to. And as I said, we've got a great crop of youngsters here who are plying their trade in the biggest ever grid we've had for British F4. 32 entered for this weekend. We've had a few along the way that have had some dramas. Let's see who else we can possibly have a quick chat to. I might see if we can have a quick chat to our Felber twins, because it's the first time we've seen the Felbers and a twin on the grid for British F4. So we've got Cash and also Roman. So Cash and Roman are both here. Let's see if we just get a quick word with the guys. I know they're having a quick chat with some of the other members down here, so we don't want to really interrupt. If I can just grab a quick word with Cash and Roman, we'll have a quick chat. We'll start with one of the brothers. This is Cash. Of course, Roman is over there, but it's great to have the brothers on the grid for British F4. How have you found your first season so far in this championship?
It's not too bad. First 3 rounds weren't too bad. We qualified in the top 12 each round, and we ended up getting 2 podiums, so it's not too bad. This weekend's a bit different. We didn't qualify very well, so we've been having to fight from the back. But we made up quite a bit of positions, which is quite good. But overall, not an amazing weekend.
And in terms of coming over to the UK, racing in British F4, what was the kind of a draw for you to come and race here? Because it's a long way from home for you, but it's probably a way you want to start moving up the ladder.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was the next step. It's been fun, super fun. I love all the people over here. So yeah.
Good stuff, Cash. I think you've got to get to the front. There's a photo taking place. So thank you very much. Good luck for the final race of the weekend as well. So Cash is going to work his way to the front of the field. A lovely photo to be taken now for this BRDC International Trophy. So all the drivers we've got lined up in one long line down here. We'll get a picture of that for you on our live stream as well. But all the likes of the drivers, as we've said, we spoke to. Dries Van Langendonck is there. We've also got the likes of people who have featured on the podium this weekend. One of those who hasn't really is one of the Red Bull liveried cars out there, Kin Lindblom. Scott the Swede, who has had a good start to the year, but Silverstone hasn't really worked too well, unfortunately, for him. He's standing alongside Jarrett Clark. You've got Joseph Smith in there as well. He's one of the nearest to the BRDC International Trophies down here on the grid. You can see Daniela Sutton, one of, I think, 4 female drivers we have on the grid this weekend. Ella Lloyd is doing selected rounds this year in British F4. She's got other focuses, but great to see that Ella's here for Silverstone this weekend. We've got also Katia Battig here as well. She was on the podium a little bit earlier on. You can see Alfie there, you can see Lewis, we can see Timo, and all of them now looking up to the skies effectively, but they're looking up to the Silverstone banner here at the Silverstone circuit with the FIA graded lights, and they're all going to smile very shortly for this BRDC International Trophy. It makes a great sight down here. That has been your grid walk from myself, but for now I'll hand back and we can build up to our British F4 race, which is not too far away now.
Nice work, Matt. Discovering all the pitfalls of being Martin Brundle with drivers who just vanish. So well done indeed. Good to hear from some of the drivers on the grid. And it is a massive grid of 32 drivers who will be taking the Silverstone tarmac for this international trophy meeting. The international trophy revived, first raced for in 1949, presented to the winner of a non-championship race here at Silverstone. had to be because the World Championship wasn't created until 1950, when Silverstone was also the opening round of the championship. And famous names: Alberto Ascari, the very first winner of that trophy. Sterling Moss has won it. Jim Clark, a multiple winner. Jackie Stewart, Graham Hill, and many others in non-championship Formula One races in the 60s and the 70s. It was then presented to Formula 2 winners in the 1970s, and Formula 3000 and GP2 winners were also presented with the International Trophy. Then it was for junior rising talents as well, and has not been presented now for more than a decade. So a brand new trophy for the International Trophy here at Silverstone, to be presented by the British Racing Drivers Club, the owners of Silverstone Circuit, the home of the British Grand Prix and the home of British motor racing, as it is self-styled here, and very much a track that lots and lots of drivers around the world would love to race at. So this is a great opportunity, Josh Barrett, for these young stars of the future potentially to get first-hand experience of a track that they will watch their Formula One heroes and heroines perhaps in years to come racing on. And who knows, as we heard from Matt earlier, Lando Norris racing in an equivalent category just a few years ago, and now a Formula One world champion. Everybody who gets to the very top starts at the bottom, and this is part of that learning process, learning racecraft, learning your skills in and out of the car. And don't forget that almost all of these are teenagers, 15, 16, 17 years old. Some of the more experienced drivers fully into their second decade of life now at nearly 20 years old. So they are young racing drivers, but the racing driver part of it is what really fascinates. When they're out of the car, they're kids. When they're in the car and the visor's down, they are real professionals.
Absolutely right. 11 winners of the BRDC International Trophy became Formula One World Champions, and that is exactly what everyone's aim is at this point of their racing career. They want to be here at Silverstone in 5-6 years time, battling against the likes of Lando Norris for race victories at the British Grand Prix. And we saw there someone had their autograph book, getting the autographs today for what could become very famous in years to come, where you won't be able to meet the drivers like you are able to this afternoon. Yeah,
freedom to get onto the grid at the British Grand Prix will not quite be of the level that they're experiencing here. Just down on the right-hand side of your picture, with his suit jacket on, Charles Grattan, the head of motorsport events here at Silverstone, and he will be presenting the trophies, I expect, for our podium finishes. And so, as well as our more experienced drivers, we've got our rookie podium we'll be looking at. So any of the cars with a yellow backing to the number will be rookie drivers. The definition of a rookie is not based on age. It's not based on the number of races you've done overall. It is 3 car races or fewer in the 2025 calendar year. So we are talking very limited experience for everybody on this grid racing in cars. Now, of course, in terms of absolute racing, many of them will have been racing for the better part of a decade already, despite the fact that they're still in their mid to late teens, because they will have started karting when they were still very much in single digits. And actually part of that story is here at Silverstone as well, with Kart Silverstone, the international graded circuit that has just been created and opened here right beside the Grand Prix track. And that's another link between the youth of motorsport and the home of the British Grand Prix.
On the left of shot there, you saw Hugh Chambers, the chairman of Motorsport UK, as well as Stuart Pringle, the MD of Silverstone. Yep. So the top echelons of British motorsport here today to see the return of the BRDC International Trophy. And of course, Motorsport UK a few years ago took over the running of the British Formula 4 Championship and have grown in quite large numbers very quickly. This full grid that we have nowadays, the largest grid ever for British F432. You probably wouldn't really want too many more cars on the grid than what we have now. Actually, at Brands Hatch, 4 weeks ago, 30 cars, that is the grid maximum at Brands Hatch, so there couldn't be any more cars in the championship than we had at that point. So it's great to see the health of junior single-seater racing returning to this country.
So in front of them all, and maybe I was just going to wonder, actually, as at Le Mans you leave the grid driving past the Le Mans trophy, I wondered whether they would all do that here, but Charles has got the wheelie trolley out, so he's got the white gloves on and everything as well. So this is full care and attention being paid to this brand new trophy. So the International Trophy to be presented again here at Silverstone. History is being reborn here in 2026, and a great opportunity to be a part of that history. Former winners of the trophy, as you said, so many of them in the past were very experienced drivers, even by that stage. Non-Formula One championship races or non-championship Formula One races tended not to have juniors and novices in them, but very experienced drivers. And at one stage there were almost as many non-championship Grand Prix as they were championship Grand Prix in the 50s and into the 60s. Particularly, there were often 4 non-championship Formula One races in Great Britain during the course of a season. So they were often very well supported, not just by fans, but by cars, drivers and teams, including the likes of Ferrari, who would very often travel across from Italy for races here, initially at Aintree as well, at Alton Park and at Brands Hatch. Non-championship races were very much a part of the calendar when there was really only a handful of Formula One Grand Prix. Well, cars are ready, drivers suiting up and making their final preparations. The race is due to get underway at 3:50 local time, so we will be seeing drivers in cars in a couple of minutes, engines started. And of course, one of the features of this 32 car grid is that we have 4 female drivers as well. So the significance of that is increasing year on year. And as a lot of the female drivers, of course, will happily tell you, the car has no idea of the sex of the person who's driving it. The female drivers can drive just as well and just as happily as the men do. 19 degrees of air temperature, wind has dropped a little, but it's still a stiff westerly breeze, 36 miles an hour, peaked at around 40 miles an hour earlier this morning. So track temperature will be in the 20s, but actually the cloud is peeling away and there's much more sun beaming down on the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit now in the middle of this Sunday afternoon. So it might just be that the track surface temperature is starting to climb a little closer to where it was yesterday for their first race and also for the qualifying session. And again, as you heard from the drivers with Matt, Josh, you don't just get the opportunity to throw tyres at the car. As you don't in Formula One anymore, you are limited to what you can use. And so there's all sorts of stratagems on when you use a new tyre and how often you try and use the same tyre on the car.
Yeah, so 2 sets of Pirellis for the weekend. Some drivers, I think the majority of drivers, have used both sets for qualifying, 1 run in each, and then therefore you have to use one of those sets in race 1. You could either then double it in race 2 or go for your second set in race 2, and therefore for this third race, have you saved one of those sets of tyres from doubling your first 2 races, or are you going to have to be running on an older set? And how much of a difference may that make in this longer race, a 25-minute race for the third race of the weekend, set from the best lap times in qualifying? And do the drivers treat this as just round 12 of the championship, or because of this extra element of having the BRDC International Trophy as the prize of the winner, will we see some different tactics? No point settling for second, we need to win this race.
Well, that's always difficult, isn't it? You know, and of course, everybody wants to win their home Grand Prix. Everybody wants to win Monaco. Would you sacrifice those to be world champion? In the cold light of day, yes. In the heat of battle, harder to be cynical, and not cynical, but clinical about that. So if push comes to shove, they are all looking to win the race. They are looking to maximise their point scores. And there are some, and Dries Van Langendonck would be an absolute classic example of that, starting from 6th on the grid. And so far, big fat 0 point score. Came in here with a clear water gap between him and anybody else in the championship. He starts this race second in the standings behind Lewis Wherrell. So things change, and things change quickly when you've got 3 races at a weekend and a long championship campaign. So if you want to succeed in any form of sport, trust the process, look at the long-term goals. Occasionally, short-termism is very much your enemy, and I think that might be the case here.
Well, it's not actually just 0 points that he scored. He's actually ended up with -3 points from the weekend, which is worse than not turning up to the weekend.
Right, more from Matt. Let's get back down to the grid.
Grab a quick word now with Hugh Chambers, who's down here on the grid with us. Hugh, the CEO of Motorsport UK. What a great chance this has been for all the fans to come and meet the drivers. What a great year it's been for British F4 so far. You must be really pleased with what's going on in 2026.
Yeah, isn't this absolutely fantastic? 32 cars on the grid, 16 different nationalities. 5 years ago when we took over the championship, we really dreamt of this moment, and it really has come to life in such a brilliant way.
It's brilliant, and to be here at Silverstone, the Grand Prix circuit, the international trophy as well being awarded for this race, it's something quite special.
Well, the international trophy is a great heritage piece, and for one of the drivers today to add their names to the roll call of legends is going to be absolutely fantastic.
And in terms of the competitiveness of the grid, all these youngsters, of course, want to be in Formula One one day, but they've put on a great show this weekend for the fans.
Isn't it amazing that the fans here walking around the grid will be able to recount in 4 or 5 years' time, I remember when that driver was on the grid with me at Silverstone, and now they're in Formula One.
And isn't it great as well that all the drivers are getting asked for their autographs already, which is brilliant?
They're young stars, 15, 16 years old, and really getting trained in the art of media management already.
I probably won't ask you for a prediction, but how do you think this race is going to go? It's going to be a great race, whatever happens.
Well, Silverstone always produces a great race. It is wide and open, and when you've got 32 cars on the grid, I think that's going to give us great racing.
It certainly is. Hugh, thanks for your time. Enjoy the race.
Thank you.
And we'll see how it all plays out. Hugh will join us on the podium as well for our International Trophy award by the BRDC, so we'll have that after this race. But for now, everyone getting ready down here on the grid. The drivers with race helmets on, they're standing very nicely by their cars, and very shortly the cars will be fired into life for our final race of the weekend for the Wera Tools British F4 Championship, certified by FIA.
So drivers waiting by their cars. Getting ready to get everything fired up. Ethan Jeff Hall, slightly up and down weekend for him. Penalty after race 1, but he'll line up here third on the grid. Great opportunity. We've seen some really electrifying starts, Josh, from row 2 of the grid in a number of these races. It's not such a deficit to be just a row behind the front row starters. You feel you're right in the mix from here, don't you?
Absolutely, and remembering back to this point yesterday, George Proudford-Nalder had his first pole position in British F4. It did not go well, so he will be putting that behind him and trying to get a good start. But the drivers behind will remember that and think this is our opportunity to take the lead early doors.
And then, in fact, we saw that in this morning's reverse grid race as well, because on pole position was the Swiss driver Chiara Batig, and she didn't make a good start. Then the race was red flagged, complete restart from the same grid positions, and the pressure got to her again, and she didn't make the best of starts. So for George here, that's absolutely critical. You know, in his head, he can't be going, don't mess it up, don't mess it up, don't mess it up. It's like looking at the barrier you think you're going to hit. You're going to hit it. If he's thinking about messing it up, the chances are that's exactly what's going to happen. He will have gone through in his head countless times since then exactly how the start is going to work. That visualization is what's going to get him off the line quickly in his virtuosi racing machine.
The Australian, one of so many Australian drivers over the years who have had to pack up from home at such a young age, move to totally the other side of the world to try and pursue a racing career. And in 2000, so 26 years ago, Mark Webber was the winner of this award, who did just that. He came up through British Formula Ford into then the International Formula 3000 Championship, where he won this very race.
Yeah, a big star in Formula 3 in his time as well, and of course went on to race at Le Mans and for 2 different manufacturers and in Formula 1 as well. Very close to being a world champion with the Red Bull team. Alongside George Proudford-Nalder on the first row of the grid is Hi-Tech's Theo Palmer. Hi-Tech yet to win this season, and that may change at the end of this race. Theo in qualifying was a couple of tenths slower than the pole position man. So George Proudford-Nalder, certainly with the pace in qualifying. Qualifying and race are very different things, particularly in qualifying. You don't tend to have somebody right on your gearbox, taking away some of your top speed and threatening to pass. And so if they are in close company from the front row of the grid, then qualifying speed and race speed tend to be slightly different things. Ethan Jeff Hall, racing for the Argenti team, lining up third on the grid. Car number 25. And then alongside him, you can just see through the halo, is the first of our rookies, Lewis Wherrell. What a weekend it's been so far for Lewis Wherrell, and I'm sure that friends, family and supporters would be thinking the perfect way to finish this weekend off on an absolute high would be not just to take the points for winning the race, but to win a prestigious trophy like the International Trophy. That would be a major feather in his cap and really set him into the sort of 5 or 6 week break that they've got now before the next race, with his tail up and a lead in the championship. That would certainly give him some very peaceful night's sleep over the next few weeks.
Yeah, certainly after how well Snetterton went last weekend as well. He was 10th in the championship heading into the races 1 week ago, and he's totally turned that around. Just before we saw Lewis, where we saw the BRDC Rising Stars badge on Ethan Jeff Hall's car, and I wouldn't be surprised if Lewis Wherrell joins that lineup before very much longer.
Yeah, run by JHR Developments. Won a number of their cars with the black, silver, or black and grey and red highlights, and there you see the yellow backing to his number. He's the first of our rookies, lining up right behind him with the orange and black and McLaren. Dries Van Langendonck, that car run by the Rodin team. A couple of rows behind, Cam Nelson, he's the third of our rookies. We've got 11 rookies on the grid. So again, in terms of outright car racing, really the whole field is relatively inexperienced. They have not done many seasons. In fact, most of them won't have done even a full season of car racing at this stage. Got some very experienced teams involved. High-Tech have been around for years. Virtuosi cut their teeth in big single-seater racing over a decade ago. And the red and white cars, Richard Dutton's Fortec team, have been running cars in single-seater racing, particularly in the junior categories, for almost as long as I can remember. And Richard Dutton showing absolutely no sign of slowing down whatsoever. The passion for bringing on young drivers is still really alive. I was chatting to him earlier, and he's definitely got a portrait in the attic. He doesn't get any older looking, Richard Dutton. I think the more young drivers you hang around, the younger you feel. That's definitely the secret.
Earlier on as well, when Matt was speaking to Dries Van Langendonck, we saw Warren Hughes overseeing proceedings, the head of McLaren Drivers Development Programmes. It's not just a livery they put on the car, is it? McLaren taking this very seriously indeed, supporting drivers in the British F4 Championship and keeping a close eye on how things are developing. As Dries said, this weekend hasn't quite gone to plan, and there he is now, DVL, and he will be looking to turn that around here in round 12 of the championship. He's a bit further back on the grid than he would like, 6th position, but in this longer race you can certainly make moves around the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, and he'll be focused on that.
Yellow, red and black, the Belgian national colours on his helmet. Of course, Belgium with proud motorsport heritage for many, many decades. And he's got every opportunity to turn this round entirely and to really end up with a big result and still be very tight in contention with Lewis Wherrell, potentially at the top of the championship standings. They were tied overnight, and then again having that disappointing start to the race. And again, he said, my own mistake, I just moved too far from the grid position into the centre of the track, made contact with another car, and that was the end of his race. And these things happen, and the easiest thing to say and the hardest thing to do in motorsport is leave it behind you. It happened, you can't change it, you can only learn from it. And as Niki Lauda always used to say, I tell you, I learned much more from losing than I ever did from winning.
Another winner of the BRDC International Trophy, Niki Lauda, back in 1975.
Well, we're going to have to start running a sweepstake on name a famous racing driver who hasn't won it, because it was a prestigious trophy for so many years, and great to see that name back. Things like the International Trophy and the Tourist Trophy were major international trophies to win, and Silverstone has always had that proud tradition of drawing top talent to it. So the grid is clear and we are ready to see the drivers heading away. There will be a single green flag lap behind our leading car. They will come back to their grid positions and then we'll be ready to go for the longest and final race of the weekend for the 2026 Wera Tools F4 British Championship, certified by FIA. Cars on their way here at Silverstone Circuit. The final green flag lap before the race gets underway. Overhead, a B-17 World War II bomber. We saw the aircraft coming over yesterday during the course of the afternoon, making another pass over the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. Silverstone, formerly an RAF bomber base in World War II. The American Air Force, the US Air Force, US Army Air Force, predominantly based in East Anglia. So tracks like Snetterton morphed out of those bomber bases. George Proudford-Nalder leads the field away with Theo Palmer on the outside of the front row of the grid. Then Ethan Jeff Hall and our championship leader and top rookie Lewis Wherrell on row 2. Adam Al-Azari, who had a great race earlier today, and Dries Van Langendonck, who's trying to turn his weekend around, are on row 3 ahead of Jarrett Clark and Kit Belofsky, the Fortec driver. Joseph Smith, who had an excellent start in race 2, had a great result ahead of Timo Jungling. And on row 6 of the grid, Ethan Carney and Chiara Bettig, who started row 2 on pole position. Cole Hewitson and Cameron Nelson on row 7 of the grid, and on row 8, Jabba Al-Sabah and Ethan Lennon. On row 9, the first of the twins, Cash Felber and Leon Headforth. And on row 10 of the grid, Tommy Harfield and Hani Sadiq after a 3-place grid penalty. Grid penalties a little further back down the order as well for Scott Kin Lindblom. He had a 3-spot grid penalty that drops him down to 24th place on the grid alongside Henry Mercier, ahead of Alfie Slater and Emma Felbermayr, the second of our female drivers. Ella Lloyd, the row back behind Felbermayr, and she had a grid penalty as well. Jackson Wolney ahead alongside Daniela Sutton on the penultimate row of the grid, and a further penalty dropping Roman Felber down to the final row of the grid with An Se Sun, the last driver, who lines up in 32nd place. The young Chinese will be the man that they all wait for as they head back to the grid. And Josh, important moments these for the drivers. You're in your zone now. You must be focusing on exactly how you are going to carry this race off to your best, how you're going to make the start. But focusing now on bringing the heat into those tyres. There are no tyre warmers for the Pirelli tyres. You've got to bring the heat in, get the brakes up to temperature, and just make sure that you are fully focused and ready to go.
That's right. It's been a new start process for this race than any race they would have had before, having that grid walk, being there for 20-30 minutes, meeting fans, signing autographs, having media interviews, having photographs with the trophy. And like you say, now they've got to forget about that and have their normal grid process, making sure everything's up to temperature on this green flag lap like they would do ordinarily. But with that tension perhaps that was riding down on the grid, that's perhaps easier said than done for 15-16-year-olds. It's a bit like when you're waiting to go for your GCSE exam, as some of these drivers might all be over the coming weeks. A very different process though when you ease yourself perhaps into an hour and a half, 2-hour exam. You've got to go racing immediately, and the first lap is so important in a race like this.
Yeah, the start is going to be absolutely key for a lot of these drivers. We've had 2 relatively clean starts, a little bit of contact between some cars in yesterday's first race and in the first start today, and in fact some of that was halfway round the lap exiting Club Corner in front of the Formula 1 pit lane. But we are now ready to go. George Proudford-Nalder on pole position from Theo Palmer, and the final cars on the grid, Roman Felber and An Se Sun, the Chinese driver, making up the 32 cars that start this international trophy race here at Silverstone. The BRDC International Trophy returns The green flag waves at the back, 5 lights will go on, and the International Trophy will be underway. Away we go from the right-hand side. The poleman, George Proudford-Nalder, not making the greatest start. Theo Palmer challenging him, but Proudford-Nalder has the lead into the first corner. Job 1 is done, but now he's got to make sure that he converts that and tries to build a lead, as we've seen before. 2 or 3 cars running wide in Copse Corner as they sweep down through Maggots and into Beckett. Theo Palmer hanging on to second place, just under pressure from Ethan. Was it Ethan Jeff Hall who's taken the lead? It was.
I think
So
Jeff Hall across the grass. The 2 similarly liveried cars. I think it is Proudford-Nalder still in front, isn't it? It was even Jeff Hall who went across the grass at Beckett.
with the yellow numbers, there is 4th place Lewis Wherrell, 4th on the grid, but he's coming down the inside into Stowe. Inside Ethan Jeff Hall. Jeff Hall was the car that ran out wide in the Beckett's S's. He won't get a penalty for that, but it won't have helped his concentration or the cleanliness of his tyres. And so Lewis Wherrell, our winner earlier yesterday, who now has the championship advantage over the man in the orange and black car, Dries Van Langendonck, the McLaren driver, in 5th place. And off as there has gone car number 55. Contact in the midfield, and that is Jarrett Clark, the Virtuosi driver, and yet again there's more rally crossing and more damage.
Yeah, there's wings going everywhere, isn't there, in the mid-pack. I suspect we might have an interruption to this race because we've got multiple cars off the circuit round Club Corner. Is Ella Lloyd off the circuit in the second of the McLaren liveried machine, so it's going to be a right shuffled order behind the top 5 who seem to escape all the drama. But plenty of drama there has been behind the leaders. But it was a great start for George Proudford-Nalder, and we're not going safety car, we're going red flag. We're being told, red flag's being waved after multiple cars off the circuit, including the race 2 winner, Joseph Smith. He's been involved in an incident with Roman Felber, so it wasn't just Ella Lloyd that got caught up there at Club Corner. There are several cars off the circuit, I'm afraid.
So how did Joseph Smith? Well, Joseph Smith must have gone off because he started in 9th place on the grid, Roman Felber in 31st. So it wasn't a good start from Felber. It must have been some major dramas for Jarrett Clark.
Yeah, so with Jarrett Clark and Joseph Smith involved, and then with Smith's car on the circuit, I presume that's how Felber's got involved later. Ella Lloyd was the 4th car that didn't come through. So it's 4 cars we've lost all down there at Club Corner. There was one that went through the gravel, but that managed to rejoin. Possibly Leon Headford. He lost a lot of time in that middle part of the circuit, but if the car's undamaged, he'll be able to rejoin his grid position. We'll have to see if any of the cars make their way down the pit, so with damage, because there could well be more involved.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the first lap, the very good news is that drivers are out of the cars safely and wisely, all waiting, unless you're actually off the track, until the marshals come to you, because then you know there's nothing else coming your way. So that's always a wise move. And in the case of a red flag, the standard FIA ruling applies. You proceed slowly to the grid and stop and await further instructions. You can see the marshals there with grid sheets, and they were waiting to go. Is there fluid underneath the car? There looks like there is there.
Could be. I'm not sure if it's the heat haze or if there was fluid leaking out the right-hand side pod of that car. Could well be. That's been a decent-sized impact, perhaps a couple of impacts involved. So George Proudford-Nalder thought, fantastic, brilliant start, put yesterday behind me, and we've got to do it all again now.
Yes.
So team members are being invited back onto the circuit to have, I think, a couple of engineers to each car. But second red flag of the day for the British F4 Championship. Front wings are being taken onto the grid by some mechanics, and spare tyres as well. So I think there are some teams that are anticipating damage to their machines.
Yeah. Some of it you will have seen on the TV pictures. Everybody's always very aware of where their own cars are. Whether they know what happens to anybody else's is a moot point, because it doesn't necessarily concern them, particularly when the race is stopped. So certainly the first few rows got through unscathed. But as yesterday, it was Club Corner that was the major problem area. So we're under red flag conditions. Here's how they got away at the start. On the right-hand side, George Proudford-Nalder, your pole sitter, and on the left, Theo Palmer. And initially it looked like Palmer might have made enough of a start to cover the gap. I'm not sure that he did quite have the pace it looked like. He turned in second. On the outside was Ethan Jeff Hall of the first corner at Copse. And Jeff Hall trying to stay in third place. As we got to the next camera shot from the Beckett's S's, he was carrying just a little bit too much speed around the outside of Theo Palmer, and Ethan drifting out wide, coming back on just ahead of Lewis Wherrell. So he didn't gain a place, but he didn't lose one. And it's a moot point whether he gained any advantage there, because the race has been cancelled. So just behind you see the orange car of Dries Van Langendonck under real pressure as well from behind, but he managed to hang on with 3 cars in his mirrors.
The car on the outside is Jarrett Clark, and that's where the incident begins. So just 2-3 cars behind Dries Van Langendonck. Clark comes down the inside of Al Zahari, and then out of shot is where the drama happens with Joseph Smith, and then further back. So there goes Clark with damage, but off shot Joseph Smith also involved and stuck on the racetrack, I think.
And here you can see cars going off into the gravel. Now, without a front wing, whether the front wing went off in the gravel, the wing is still there. On, what's that, went through the gravel? Was that Vegard Clementson? And
I think Lloyd was taking avoiding action.
Yep.
She's got right front damage as well, hasn't she? Out of all of that, she was very strong on lap 1s earlier after poor qualifying yesterday, trying to make progress early on, and perhaps got caught out this time around.
We saw in this morning's race, Alba Felbermayr ended up in the gravel there, Emma Felbermayr, and she, although the car was all in one piece, it was just so full of gravel, it was unable to continue. Another nose going onto the grid for one of our rookies. So again, that has all the hallmarks of a bit of rally crossing being going on. And Club Corner is definitely a pinch point when the field are so close together. Of course, in Formula One, it's the last corner on the lap, so they've, I was going to say, sorted themselves out, but to a degree there is more spacing between the cars. Here it's halfway round the lap, and so there is still a lot of bunching.
That's right, you had the big slipstreaming effect down to Stowe Corner, so many challenges going on there. They were 3 abreast, weren't they, involving Jarrett Clark at that corner, and then as he tried to make progress back into the Vale, it all kicked off for either him, for cars around him. Either way, he was involved and eliminated from the race. As so many parts of Silverstone have over the years, Club Corner is a part of the track that has changed from what was one flowing long right-hand corner more recently into this now double apex bend, which sort of makes the first part more of a chicane than what it once was. So cars will be brought back to the paddock. They won't be able to restart, too badly damaged.
So I think we're counting out Ella Lloyd.
Yeah, we think Joseph Smith and Jarrett Clark too, don't we?
Yeah.
For Ford.
Yeah,
I wonder if there was a 4th car, because one car's just gone onto the back of the flatbed and there's still 2 more over there, so there might be a further car as well. The screen's been wiped clean at this point, so we can't go use that our effect. But
yeah, well, gravel in the radiators or not, that front suspension's going nowhere. I think Ella Lloyd took one look at that, went, right, that's my day done.
Ella Lloyd, as will Emma Felbermayr and Alba Larsen, who are taking part today, will be racing on the British Grand Prix this year, because the F1 Academy, for the first time, is a support race to the British Grand Prix. British F4 had that privilege last year, but what it does mean, once again, there'll be Formula 1, Formula 2, Formula 3 and Formula 4 cars, all part of the British Grand Prix. Every level of the single-seater categories will be represented here in 5 weeks' time.
And actually, if you're a young driver or a driver's manager or parent looking to try and attract a sponsor, the fact that this junior championship is called F4 makes it F4. What's that? Says the sponsor. Well, you go F4, F3, F2, F1. Oh, right. Okay. So it, if it's Formula something or other, then you go, okay, but this 4-3-2-1 thing makes life very much more straightforward when you're trying to explain to a sponsor what the young drivers are doing and what the pathway might be for the future. And so, and again, having a place on the bill at the British Grand Prix, we're racing at Silverstone, supporting Formula One and all of that kind of stuff, all of those little stories help to bring sponsors aboard, and they... all of these things are always going to really help. So Roman Felber, that was the other car that we were looking at. So don't see that car going any further, so we will scratch that with Ella Lloyd. 55, Jarrett Clark, 7th on the grid. Joseph Smith, 9th on the grid. Don't think we're going to be seeing those cars either.
Silverstone Marshals doing what they do best and working hard to make sure we can get racing back underway as quickly as possible. It will be a full restart of 25 minutes, but whether it's the British Grand Prix or club meetings here at Silverstone, the Silverstone Marshals proving they are the best in the business at any event, working so hard. They're so experienced here at Silverstone, and they go all around the world, but so many of them, doesn't matter what type of meeting there is, the Silverstone marshalling team is so large and so well put together. You're talking about sponsors earlier on. It's not just Formula One teams that sponsor some of the drivers. This year, for the first time, the FAT racing programme, FAT racing programme, has been put together by Rob Smedley, who runs the karting, electric karting programme, Arrive and Drive, and they had a shootout for their top pro competitors, and they have given the award to Jackson Wolney, and they have given him a full season of racing with XL Motorsport, fully sponsored car, so he hasn't got to bring any funding to it, and that's a great thing for someone coming out of karting, having a full sponsor on board straight away.
Yeah, that's a massive prize, isn't it? And you never know where those things are going to lead. Remember when Jonathan Palmer created Formula Palmer Audi, the prize drive was a funded seat in Formula 3000, the equivalent now of being given a drive in F2 for winning a national starter single-seater championship. And that's what brought the late Justin Wilson into top flight motorsport, and from there he stepped up into Formula One and then made a very successful career as an IndyCar racer as well. So these prizes in and themselves are enormous rewards for the drivers and enormous opportunities, but you never know where they're going to end up leading, and for a business to be able to put that sort of effort in is really fantastic on sponsoring young drivers and giving opportunities that otherwise might not exist.
This year's British Formula 4 champion will undertake a session at the Mercedes-AMG Formula 1 simulator and a simulator development session at Alassian Williams F1. So the British Formula 4 Championship really working hard to give the overall champion the best prospect in their career going forwards. The champion also receives 10 sets of Pirelli tyres to use in testing for the next chapter of their career, whether that be in the UK in GB3 or in FRECA in Europe, or perhaps like last year's champion Finn McLaughlin moving immediately up into FIF F3 for next season, and not having to find those 10 sets of tyres so you can go testing. It's so important. It's
every little boost helps, and actually that's one of the advantages of having Motorsport UK, the governing body of sport in the UK, as the championship promoter, is that Hugh Chambers can go on, knock on Formula One teams' doors, and they will open and answer and have a sensible conversation. Okay, what can you offer? Okay, what can we do? Well, we can't give them a drive in F1 at this level, but what we can do is give them the opportunity to learn and to experience different things that otherwise would be way outside of their remit as teenagers and as young drivers, and that's a fantastic opportunity as well. So Motorsport UK, the BRDC, have always been very keen on supporting young drivers, trying to give something back to the sport from the years of success of British motorsport, and it's good to see that programme continues, both programmes continue to grow and expand.
And there's the sponsors of the championship also get involved. The driver who has the most overtakes over the year wins a Bell HP 77 helmet. The pole position award from Cadola for each round of the championship. Pirelli give a set of tyres to the hardest charger of the award, which is for the driver the lowest cumulative finishing position for the weekend. Vera Tools, the championship sponsor, they give a technical award, which is a professional toolkit worth over £750 at each meeting. There's further incentives from Bell Helmets, so the championship's got several sponsors on board as well, and as it has been for the last few years, the Jake Cook Memorial Award will be given to the driver for the most significant improvement over the year, will win £500, and Jake Cook's family will donate £500 to the Mind charity in memory of Jake, who died a few years ago, a former driver in the championship.
For the second time of asking, cars on the formation lap here, still 25 minutes on the clock for the third race of the weekend for the 2026 Wera Tools F4 British Championship, certified by FIA at the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. They are racing for championship points, they're racing for glory, they are also racing for the BRDC International Trophy. The trophy first presented in 1949 and for many years to winners of non-championship Formula One races, the likes of Alberto Ascari, Sterling Moss, Jim Clark, Jackie Stewart, Graham Hill, Niki Lauda have all had their names on the trophy, and after lying dormant for a number of years, the BRDC International Trophy returns, and these young drivers will make their way round and set up once more on the grid. The second time of asking after a red flag on the first race start because of collisions down here in the Vale and in Club Corner, and a number of cars that needed rescuing. We are getting ready to go again. There's a little bit of debris on the circuit from one of the earlier contacts, but hopefully that will cause no further issues. And we have lost 4 of our 32 cars that came to the grid initially. This is where it all happened in race 2 and in race 3 so far. So let's hope we'll get a clean run through at the second time of asking.
The drivers, their part in the Lando Norris grandstand. It was Lando Norris who was the first British Formula 4 champion 11 years ago, and that sort of propelled the championship. Having that as your first champion, it couldn't really be much better, could it? And all the drivers here looking to replicate what Lando did all those years ago, and for people like George Proudford-Nalder all coming through from that same scheme that Lando did doing Ginettas before moving into F4, this great scheme of racing now we have in Britain, where you can build up a racing career in cars from the age of 14, which, if you were somebody like 20 years ago or so, that you could start racing in the UK at 14, being single seaters at 15, you wouldn't think that was true, but that's absolutely the case. And now, as you mentioned earlier, most drivers on this grid are either 15 or 16. The average is so low in a championship, which 40, 50 years ago you wouldn't be allowed to start until you had a driving licence on the road, where most people won't have that now.
Well, you talked about this getting your head into gear after the grid walk, a little bit like preparing for your GCSE exams. Some of them will have to do that this summer. Some of these drivers won't have to do that until next summer. So they're a year away even from that stage. They might be doing mocks, but there is no mock here. This is for real. We are ready to go once more as the drivers head towards the grid. And the longest race of the weekend, 25 minutes. And at this stage, who has got what in the locker? What in terms of good fortune on their side? What in terms of good tyres on their cars? And what in terms of mental fortitude? They all drive the same Tartus-built chassis. They all use the same Control Pirelli tyre, the same Abarth engine. The machine is not what makes the difference here. It is the relationship between the driver and the engineer, and then the driver in the cockpit themselves. 2 Red Bull Juniors in the field. You just saw Kin Lindblom has had a bit of a tough weekend, another grid penalty after race 2. But his teammate Karabatic starts 12th with 2 cars missing on the right-hand side line as we look at them. So no Jarrett Clark, no Joseph Smith, and that will give those who start a little further down in the top 10 a great opportunity with clear track in front to try and make the best of the start. Red lights on here at Silverstone. And away we go once more. George Proudford-Nalder from the front row of the grid. Theo Palmer again alongside him. Palmer not quite quick enough, but Lewis Wherrell up into 3rd place. Ethan Jeff Hall, the blue and black car, down to 4th place, ahead of Adam Al-Azhari, and then the orange and black of Dries Van Langendonck. He's got away cleanly, the McLaren sponsored driver, but he has not made up a place from 6th on the grid. That's your top half dozen. There was a gap, so Kit Belofsky is next up, And then Ethan Carney, just 2 cars behind him, Timo Jungling in between them, and this time everybody has got away safely from the grid, although not without using the grass to get out of the Chapel Curve onto the Hanger Straight.
Even Jeff Hill fighting back on Lewis Wherrell right round the outside at Stowe Corner. I don't think that's quite going to work out for him. They're both closed up to the back of Theo Palmer, and just like on the initial start, George Proudford-Nalder, the Australian, getting away in front.
Lewis Wherrell really battling hard in 3rd place with those yellow backings to the numbers 10 on his car. He does not seem to have the pace of the leaders on this opening lap. Maybe he didn't quite get the heat he needed in the tyres. Here they come through Club Corner, and this time it looks like it's fairly clean. Chiara behind, Kobakhidze in the Red Bull car battling to hold on to a position in the top 10. And it is our race leader, George Proudford-Nalder, from Theo Palmer, with Lewis Wherrell still just in 3rd place. We're past the first of the major danger zones on the opening lap of the race. It is still wheel to wheel for a lot of positions behind, and Kobakhidze getting eased out wide. Bounces across the grass, comes back on, has lost 2 or 3 places, and the other Red Bull car way out far. Kin Lindblom in the background has dropped to last, as our race leader, George Proudford-Nalder, is trying to make the break on lap 1. Look how busy the hands are here in this tight section in front of the BRDC suite and the new Jim Clark grandstand alongside.
Looked like Jeff Hall got pretty sideways there in the 4th position, so that might leave him vulnerable to the next car up, which is Adam Al-Zahari, as they head up towards Cox Corner. 0.6 of a second is the gap for Proudford-Nalder over the pack. There is Jeff Hall. That slide at Luffield didn't affect him too much, so he's going back after the championship leader Lewis Wherrell as they head into Maggots and Beckett. Such a spectacular part of the Silverstone circuit, so quick, well over 100 miles per hour through the first 3 sequences of this side of the part of the bends. Then they go down a gear for the final part of Beckett for accelerating through Chapel Curve, and then up to 140 miles per hour for braking into Stowe Corner.
With the red highlights on his car, Lewis Wherrell, the championship leader, towing right up behind Theo Palmer. Now, he'd do well just to sit there for another lap, but he's got the speed to make the pass. He's diving down on the inside, up into 2nd place. Proudford-Nalder has not escaped, and that is dangerous for Proudford-Nalder, because Wherrell up to 2nd place, Palmer behind him, then the blue nose of Jeff Hall, then the silver car of Al-Azhari. But that's a great move from Lewis Wherrell, 4th on the grid, up to 2nd place now, and setting sail after the race leader, who is just about 7/10 in front. George Proudford-Nalder is going to really have to watch his mirrors now, because Lewis Wherrell, who didn't really look quite that quick on the opening lap at the first start, definitely has the pace under him now.
Big dive up the inside in the background as Adam Al-Zahari went up the inside of even Jeff Hall. Jeff Hall managed to repel that challenge, which was a great job by him, because it looked pretty sure that he was going to lose it, and actually it's going to be Al-Zahari who's going to lose out to Dries Van Langendonck. They're wheel to wheel as they go through entry onto the Wellington Straight. The inside line for the McLaren driver for Rodin is Van Langendonck, but up the road Lewis Wherrell coming back under pressure from Theo Palmer.
Yeah, he had to shut the door there as they came down into Brooklands. The inside line is very tempting there, and it's a guaranteed passing place if you can make it, and Van Langendonck did. He got by Adam Al-Azhari, and Al-Azhari cutting back on the outside, and that's the problem with making that shallow dive in Brooklands, is that you overcommit there and you're slow through Luffield, and that allows the recovery. So Al-Azhari had his nose just in front again at the line, but it's Van Langendonck who had the run down the straight, and so he comes back up into 5th position, the orange and black of the McLaren sponsored driver. But Proudford-Nalder has built a gap over Lewis Wherrell, so George Proudford-Nalder 1.2 seconds in front, and Lewis Wherrell is not escaping Theo Palmer in 3rd place, with Ethan Jeff Hall starting to break away from the Al-Azhari and Langendonck battle behind him.
And with the strong winds today, if you don't pull away through the Beckett's S's, you are vulnerable down the Hanger Straight into Stowe Corner with the slipstream, and Van Langendonck is the most vulnerable here, I'd suggest, but he's got on the brakes late in the McLaren liveried car and holding off Adam Al-Zahari for now in that high-tech machine that continues to chase. And then Kit Belofsky and Timo Jungling, I think a couple more drivers involved in this squabble as well. Then a gap back to Ethan Lennon, who's the best of the rest.
Ethan Lennon, 11th place, just out of the points at the moment. Only the top 10 get standard points. Then there are points for the every place you make up from the grid, and point for the fastest lap as well, which is currently going to George Proudfort-Nalder. But Van Langendonck with the fastest first sector of anybody in the race. And look at this all the way back. Lots of slipstreaming battles all the way through the field. That's the battle for 15th and 16th place. Felber and Nelson.
Just ahead of them was Tommy Harfield, who struggled in qualifying yesterday, but is working his way through the order. He's passed both of them, hasn't he, on this lap? So he's up to 13th, I'd suggest. Tommy Harfield making very good progress from 19th on the grid.
It really is. And the race leader continuing to ease away. Now, Lewis Wherrell quicker in sector 2 than George Proudfort-Nalder. So Lewis Wherrell in second place, responding. And sector 2 is quite a quick part of the circuit, and having a car behind you at that stage with Theo Palmer dropping away, actually not really helping him in terms of pace. 2 cars slipstreaming down the straight will be quicker than one on its own, as long as the car behind has enough patience not to try and attack. Now then, there is Ethan Jeff Hall with the blue upper bodywork, and he is now right in the clutches of Dries Van Langendonck, the Belgian driver with the orange and black of McLaren, the papaya livery that we've seen on the Formula 1 cars. And Van Langendonck is now in the slipstream. Watch that battle for 4th place, and this could be trouble for Ethan Jeff Hall at the end of the straight. Is Van Langendonck close enough? He's close enough to feint and try and force a late braking moment out of Ethan Jeff Hall, but he wasn't close enough to throw it up the inside. He's just going to have to be a fraction more patient. Behind him, Adam Al-Azhari with the silver top to the bodywork is still right in the mix here, and this is the problem for Van Langendonck. When there's nobody behind you, you're free to attack. When there's somebody behind you, you've got to attack and defend at the same time. Nice work if you can do it.
McLaren Junior, Dries Van Langendonck chasing Mercedes Junior, Ethan Jeff Hall. That could be the story. It's here at Silverstone in a few weeks' time, but for today it's battle for 4th place. There's contact off the road. Is at 24, which would be Sun Anza, the Chinese driver, who is doing battle with the 2 Red Bull cars on the back of the grid now. It's gone really very wrong for both Chiara Battig and Scott Lindblom today.
Yeah, Scott Lindblom went off wide just around this corner actually on lap 1 and disappeared out of shot. He was so far across the grass on the driver's right and rejoined in last place. And Ansei Shun was the final driver on the grid. And after Chiara Battig went off, obviously she's got issues as well, because she was a long way further up, so she shouldn't have been right at the back of the field. Action here. And this is going to be very close as well as they come out of the final corner. Ethan Jeff Hall just keeping his nose in front of Dries Van Langendonck and Adam Al-Azhari. Behind them, Kit Belofsky not quite able to stay in touch, is he? They're not going an awful lot quicker. Lewis Wherrell with a new fastest race lap, and a little bit of a track limits infringement that Van Langendonck is have to be careful about. They'll certainly be watching at the exit of Copse Corner.
The Wherrell lapped not just the fastest lap, but 3 tenths quicker than the leader. So that's a big gain around this Silverstone Grand Prix circuit on such a competitive grid. So down to 9 tenths of a second is the leading gap, which is the smallest it's been since about halfway around the first lap of the race. We're on lap 5 now, top 3 pulling away. The big battle pack for 4th between Jeff Hall, Van Langendonck and Al-Azhari.
And that's actually good news, isn't it, for Theo Palmer in 3rd place in the other silver-bodied car, because they are holding each other up, and there's Theo Palmer going through shot. He's just safe enough from them that he can actually try and focus on Lewis Wherrell. Wherrell with a little bit of a lock-up exiting the Vale and coming into Club Corner, but there he is in 2nd place. The race leader coming towards us with the blue of Virtuosi, George Proudfort-Nalder, the Aussie leading the race from the Brit, and Palmer in 3rd place, not yet being caught by the battle behind. This now 3-way squabble with Ethan Jeff Hall, Dries Van Langendonck and Adam Al-Azhari. And Kit Belofsky, how far back is he? Just 1/3 of a second behind Al-Azhari. So any mistakes here by Al-Azhari, and they're going to snap him up as well.
In the 7th position, Belofsky from Hertfordshire in the UK. I think the highest he's been up over the course of this weekend at Silverstone, and he's with all the big guns in the championship there, and they battle a bit harder. I wonder if we might see Belofsky make up some positions. But there is a lead battle brewing, I think, at the front of this race, with still a quarter of an hour of racing to go. The lead gap, which was 1.5 seconds, has been coming down and down. It's now just half a second between George Proudford-Nalder and Lewis Wherrell. Lewis Wherrell is consistently 2 to 3 tenths of a second faster than the race leader. But what did Murray Walker say? It's one thing catching, passing is a different story.
Well, he has, again, as you say, sliced 1/3 of a second out of the lead. We've gone from 8 tenths down to 5 tenths, so another 2 laps. He'll be right with him at this rate of catching. And he's given himself time as well. He's not panicked. He's just set about it, and you can see the lap differences there. 2:03.8 to 2:03.5, 2:03.6 to 2:03.3, 2:03.9 to 2:03.8. So over the last 3 laps, Lewis Wherrell has really just started to relentlessly pull in George Proudford-Nalder, and that's really trouble for the leader. They're both on their own in clean air, or they were, but now Lewis Wherrell is in the sort of position where on the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit he is going to be increasingly picking up the slipstream of the car in front. If you're within half a second, you're getting that toe. If you're within a second, you're getting something, but within half a second, he's really getting something. And Proudford-Nalder responds, fastest first sector of the race by 1/10, so he opens up a little bit more over Lewis Wherrell, and Ethan Jeff Hall in 4th place, still hanging on. Van Langendonck in 5th, Al-Azhari in 6th, Belofsky in 7th, because there is a number 7 between 6 and 8, although not on our graphics. 8th place is car number 32. Where did he start on the grid? Ethan Lennon started in 16th, so he'll get extra points for moving that far up the order. And again, Ethan Jeff Hall having to defend here into Brooklands, and that's going to leave him running too deep into the first part of Luffield. The good news here is this right-hander is pretty slow, and it's hard to make a difference from behind in identical machinery. If you've got speed or grip advantage, you can go around the outside. In these cars, that's not happening.
17 drivers have finished on the podium this year in British F4. George Proudford-Nalder is not one of those 17. He is the race leader. The gap is now 2 tenths of a second to Lewis Wherrell, who's right in his wheel tracks into Maggots, but this is where the aero wash for the car behind makes it really challenging to hang on round here. But if he can hang on all the way to Chapel Curve, he will be the driver in the slipstream for the long run down the Hanger Straight into Stowe Corner. Stowe's seen so many famous overtaking moves here at Silverstone over the years of the home of British motorsport. I don't think this lap is going to be it though, because Wherrell did drop some time through the first sector. He was 2 tenths slower through Beckett. He's so late on the brakes in the Stowe, but he just can't follow close enough through Beckett's. At least on that lap, Wherrell was unable to be able to challenge into Stowe Corner.
The real problem, though, for George Proudford-Nalder is that Lewis Wherrell is right there. He's filling the mirrors, and if he doesn't get into the head of George Proudford-Nalder, I'd be surprised. These young drivers, they are exactly that. They look so professional, so adept in car control in these machines, but it's the mental stability that is the key that they've learned through racecraft over the years. George Proudford-Nalder hanging on, but Lewis Wherrell will be determined. He knows he's got time. He may not know exactly how many minutes left, but he will know that they're probably not halfway through the race. They're a little beyond that now, but he's still got time to try and make the pass. The problem is when you arrive with speed, that's your advantage. If you get stuck behind the car in front, then you're going no quicker than they are, and that is when it becomes really tricky. Arriving and trying to catch them in the right place to pass is the secret to the whole thing. It's not always possible.
It was through Brooklands and Luffield a lap ago when Lewis Wherrell caught a couple of attempts and was able to get right underneath the rear wing of George Proudford-Nalder. That's not been possible this time round as they complete 7 laps of the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, and that's actually because Proudford-Nalder's just done the fastest lap of the race, so Wherrell was going quickly and George Proudford-Nalder's gone even faster, 2:03.247. He was the fastest driver in qualifying, so we shouldn't really be surprised by that, but Wherrell has been so impressive in race pace over the course of the 3 races here at Silverstone this weekend. Theo Palmer still sits there in 3rd, and the battle for 4th continues between Ethan Jeff Hall, Dries Van Langendonck and Adam Al-Zahari as they turn their way through the Beckett setted. And again, Van Langendonck's got the same problem that Lewis Wherrell had a lap ago. It's so hard to follow through that sequence of corners, and that has actually left him vulnerable to the car behind.
Ethan Jeff Hall, car number 25, still hanging on to 4th place. And this battle particularly, I think, with Dries Van Langendonck there in the centre and Adam Al-Zahari behind, shows the difficulty of making a pass, even on a track as wide open as the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. It is not easy. Kit Belofsky in 8th place, holding off car number 32. Ethan Lennon right behind him, and still unable to make a move. The same as Van Langendonck, the same as Azari. Moves made in the, and that's why Club Corner's been such a drama at the start of the races. Moves made on the opening lap before people settle down and get into their groove are really important and very hard to replicate once the driver's in the flow and has the rhythm of the track.
It shows you actually how challenging it is when you're in a battle like this. Alba Larsen, who's been in the back third of the grid all weekend, has come into the pits. She's gone back out and set the 3rd fastest lap of the race. Only the top 2 drivers quicker than her. So when you're by yourself, it's so much easier to go quickly than if you're in a battle like this. And even Jeff Hall has to defend quite hard into Brooklyn's corner. Can Dries Van Langendonck make anything of this through Luffield? He goes wide in to try and cut back out with the late apex at Luffield corner, which has been a move that has worked in other categories today. But Ethan Jeff Hall, very experienced driver, was right involved in the battles here on the national circuit 1 year ago. He's still having to defend though up towards Cops corner.
Around the outside, Van Langendonck having a really hard look here. He's getting frustrated at being stuck behind Ethan Jeff Hall. Runs out a little wide again, that time not 4 wheels off over the white line either, so that is good enough. They're just dropping Adam Al-Zahari right behind them for a second, Al-Zahari. So the battle now just kind of fizzles out a little bit again, and that last time down into Brooklands, Dries Van Langendonck really was pushing Ethan Jeff Hall very hard indeed, just sat behind him right in the wheel tracks until the last moment, tried to make something happen. He too is feeling the frustration, I think, that Lewis Wherrell may be, and is trying to make something happen by just piling the pressure on the man in front. But Ethan Jeff Hall, he's got clear road in front. He knows he's not going to be held up by anybody else. It's all about just making sure his line is as clean as possible, and that in the last half a lap has just helped him to creep a fraction away from Van Langendonck, and now it's the silver car behind of Al-Zahari that might actually be the one on the move next time round.
I wonder if those penalty points that Dries Van Langendonck got yesterday are weighing on his mind in this race, not to try anything that could be risky and involve any contact, because if he gets more penalty points, that will cost him further championship points. But racing drivers forget about that, you reckon, Martin?
Well, they do. I mean, if there's an opportunity, he will definitely try and take it, and you will try and get through cleanly, because of course in these cars you understand perfectly that you risk taking your own wheels off as much as somebody else's if there is contact, or your own wing, or whatever, and then there's the penalties as well. But in the heat of battle, particularly given the fact that he's been sitting behind him for nearly 20 minutes, if there is a sniff, he will go for it. Here's our race leaders, and again another fastest lap for George Proudfort-Nalder, and instantly beaten by Lewis Wherrell. 6 minutes to go. Proudfort-Nalder 2:03, 2:39, 2:03, 0:36 for Lewis Wherrell. They both set a new fastest race lap within 0.3 of a second.
So is Lewis Wherrell going to try and hang on round Beckett, or is it going to be a different part of the track where he's going to be able to challenge? On the other hand, is it all about just putting the pressure on all the time and seeing if George Proudfort-Nalder cracks? He's not been in this position in F4 before, where he's led a race from the front. He's never been on the podium in one of these races. Well, turns into Stowe a bit earlier, I think. They just to get in the mirrors a bit more of the race leader than he already was. He wasn't close enough to challenge, but he was close enough to distract the leader if he was perhaps paying more attention to his mirrors than he should have been.
That is all part of it. Move around, catch him by surprise, make him do things that he's not expecting to do, and right behind, there you are, a classic example of that coming down into the Beckett's S's. This is a little further down outside the top 10.
Got Cash Felber and Cole Hewitson who've gone full drift mode through Club Corner. It looked more like a 1970s Grand Prix car that than the F4 machine. They go through that bit of dust that's been left out of Club Corner. That battle continues, but so does the lead battle. Brooklands is an overtaking opportunity, and Lewis Wherrell is going to be in the tow for a long time, all the way through Aintree, up the Wellington Straight. maybe a car length too far away. Let's see.
Yep. It is too far away, and he's going to have to work on, because he doesn't have a speed advantage, he's going to have to work on how he's going to catch George Proudfoot-Nalder by surprise. And there is a surprise. One of the Rodin cars rotates.
That was Ethan Lennon out of 8th position.
Oh.
So he was in the points. He's now got a Silverstone cone as well as an F4 car to be disappointed about. Out of the points now. Just the top 10 score points in British F4. Leaders nose to tail, less than 3 attempts. Look up the inside into Copse Corner again, just darting around in the mirrors. But you've got to be careful, that doesn't put you offline through Copse. As Lewis Wherrell got to the point where actually overtaking on the circuit without a mistake for Proudford-Nalder, it's starting to look more unlikely lap on lap.
Yeah, but he can try as hard as he wants to try and force that error from Proudfoot-Nalder. And again, he may be seeing things from his cockpit that we're not. How much George's car is moving around in front of him. Is he starting to run out of tyres? We're starting to run out of time in this international trophy race. 1, 2 laps to go. One after this, maybe, will be all they get. So Lewis Wherrell is going to have to work really hard to get ahead of George Proudfoot-Nalder. And George from pole position has twice started well and driven superbly, hasn't he? He's been under pressure most of the way from Lewis Wherrell, the new championship leader. Rookie though he may be, Lewis Wherrell certainly is finding the pace in these cars. Can he make the difference? Can he crack the defence of the long-term race leader? We've got a couple of minutes to find out.
Through Farm Curve down into Village and then the loop. I wonder if the gap looked a bit bigger, but so late on the brakes was Wherrell there into the right-hander, and then a dive up the inside into the loop. Wasn't quite close enough, but again, if Proudfoot-Nalder was looking in his mirror at that point, he could have so easily turned out the corner thinking that Wherrell was coming, and that would have been Lewis Wherrell's opportunity. So it's getting sort of desperate dives up the inside to try and put the race leader off. It hasn't worked yet, but there's still a lap, maybe 2 laps for that to be successful.
And again, the problem with making that move is then you're too far behind coming onto the Wellington Straight and heading down towards Brooklands, and so that opportunity goes. He closes up once more in Luffield, and that's a low speed enough corner that you can close up without the aero wash disturbing the car. Is the straight long enough to make the pass down into Copse Corner? We're going to find out in a moment or two. He's not close enough, and this time he doesn't faint, and I think he feels that might have cost him time. I certainly thought it did on the previous lap. There is Palmer in 3rd place, all on his own, Theo Palmer. He started from the front row. I'm sure he wishes that he was in this battle, but he doesn't quite have the pace right now of the lead duo. 1 minute and 50 seconds on the clock.
That means it's going to be this lap and one more, doesn't it? So an extra lap for Lewis Wherrell to try and make the move. He's certainly got the pace. Every time he sort of has those looks, dropped back a car length or 2, he's always able to close back in. And he breaks desperately late into Stowe Corner, turns in early again. But George Proudfoot-Nalder hasn't yet been put off by this attacking moves from Lewis Wherrell. George Proudfoot-Nalder is so keen to win the BRDC International Trophy. It hasn't been awarded to a junior single-seater race for a couple of decades. It hasn't been awarded at all for over a decade, and it would mean so much to be the winner on the return of the BRDC International Trophy here at Silverstone.
Lewis Wherrell very close behind the race leader, and Theo Palmer dropping back towards Ethan Jeff Hall. That gap is slowly decreasing. Jeff Hall now escaping as Dries Van Langendonck in the orange machine is under more pressure from Matt Al-Azhari. And here we go, down the inside. He fainted a couple of times over the last 2 laps. A big lock-up from Lewis Wherrell, and somehow the two of them contrive not to make contact, but Wherrell is still right there, heading down to Brooklands for what might be the penultimate time. And this time, for the very first time, George Proudfoot-Nalder has to defend hard on the inside, moves a second time into Brooklands under braking, and Wherrell will be a little bit frustrated by that. He got alongside, he's still alongside. 1 to go at the line this time. They will have a final lap, and Lewis Wherrell is all over the back of George Proudfoot-Nalder, almost like he's not really been waiting for anything other than this last lap. He's alongside, they're a whisker beside each other at the line. Proudfoot-Nalder turns in front. Wherrell is still there on the outside, can't afford to run wide, does run wide, can't take advantage. He's going to have to tuck in behind the Beckett's S's. No, he's not. He's still side by side as they come down through Maggots into Beckett. It is George Proudfoot-Nalder who is back in front. Wherrell was a fraction of a second ahead at the line, 12 thousandths in front. If he can do that on this last lap, he could yet win this international trophy.
It was an outstanding bit of racing, wasn't it? 6, 7 corners, they were side by side. They avoided contact on a couple of occasions as well, where it looked like it might come. But George Proudfoot-Nalder has fought off another attack, the biggest attack yet, but it might not be the last attack. He now knows where Lewis Wherrell is super strong on the brakes through those couple of hairpins through the new loop. And Lewis Wherrell is close enough to try again on this last lap.
You can see the graining on Lewis Wherrell's tyres, and he's throwing caution to the wind now. This is all or nothing. It was on the last lap. He tried to make the difference, and now again he is close behind the race leader. Not quite as close as the last time. We might get a sort out for 4th place at the line, but this is where it's all going to happen. The battle for the lead, and Lewis Wherrell is not quite as close as he was before, so he's not going to lunge this time. Another little lockup. This might be all down to Brooklands. It might be down to Luffield and a drag race to the checkered flag. He won it the last lap by 12 thousandths of a second. Lewis Wherrell, this is his only chance now to win this race and to take the international trophy. George Proudfoot-Nalder leading down into Brooklands. Wherrell is not close enough to have a lunge, or is he? He's really piling the pressure on the leader, trying to make him drift out wide, trying to compromise the speed into Luffield. Proudfoot-Nalder drifts wide. Lewis Wherrell is right there. Can he beat him to the line? Who's going to win the drag race? It is going to be the international trophy winner, George Proudfoot-Nalder of Australia. Lewis Wherrell gave it everything and comes up a whisker shy, and Theo Palmer will cross the line in 3rd place. Further back it is Ethan Jeff Hall who hangs on for 4th ahead of Dries Van Langendonck and Adam Al-Azari. But what a final couple of laps from Proudfoot-Nalder and Wherrell. That is top flight international motor racing. I don't care how young they are. You don't get much better than that.
Absolutely, it was superb racing. To be side by side through the fastest part of Silverstone, through Maggots and Beckett, was outstanding from these two drivers. And Lewis Wherrell threw absolutely everything he could at it. But George Proudfoot-Nalder, who'd never been on a Formula 4 podium until what will come in 5 minutes or so, to win the most important race of the year, the BRDC International Trophy, for someone that left home a few years ago to move over to the UK to pursue a racing career. It's all coming right now, isn't it? Winning the BRDC International Trophy 2026.
Fantastic racing and commendable sang-froid as well from George Proudfoot-Nalder, because he was under so much pressure. Lewis Wherrell actually had his nose ahead at the line, just in front, starting the final lap, and had shown everything, thrown everything at it, and George Proudfoot-Nalder kept his composure. It would have been so easy for a young driver who's not won a race in the category to just crack and just fumble it a fraction. He did not. He defended where he needed to. He focused on eyes in front and let Lewis Wherrell follow in his wheel tracks across the line. What a result.
That is George Proudfoot-Nalder's first ever car racing victory. Last year at Donington Park, he was going to win a Ginetta Junior race. The car blew up with 1 corner to go. But however, that's all put behind him now. And if you're going to win your first car race, what about being at Silverstone? What about a trophy that hasn't been awarded for many years and has got so many world champions on it? Well done to George Proudfoot-Nalder, the 17-year-old from New South Wales. In his 2nd season of car racing. It's come back a bit later, his first car win, than he might have liked, but it's come in the most spectacular of fashion here at Silverstone.
Well, that blew up on the penultimate lap, didn't it? It was tense, it was nervous. It's one of those relentless chases from Lewis Wherrell, and then suddenly it was fireworks coming towards the end of the penultimate lap. It just didn't have enough to take victory. But you've got to hand it to George Proudfoot-Nalder. There is Lewis Wherrell. Well, he doesn't win the international trophy. What he does have is the championship lead after this Silverstone race weekend. He comes home in 2nd place. Theo Palmer there in 3rd position, and the other cars behind are more of our rookies. So it is a moment to celebrate, and That is one for the record books. The famous names that have been down as winners of the International Trophy, joined by George Proudfort-Nalder, and who knows where his career will take him. He wins the International Trophy. Lewis Wherrell is second, and Theo Palmer in third position. And for Virtuosi Racing, that is a huge moment for their young driver. A big, big result.
Both Jack Brabham and Mark Webber, other Australian winners of this event. That's not a bad list to add your name to. And Lewis Wherrell, it meant a lot to him, I think, not to win this race. He looked pretty emotional when he came into the Parc-Fermé area to put everything into winning it. And that's, we wondered, is this just another round of the British Championship for the drivers, or is this whole new event or return of this event? It absolutely does show it does mean more than the other races, I think.
Look at the emotion on his face. I mean, that was a bare-knuckle knife fight for the last 2 laps, and he just couldn't quite convert it. And that's, you know, that too is sport, isn't it? So close and not quite. Theo Palmer was never in the battle for the win, but once he got into third place, kept himself clear of the squabble behind. Ethan Jeff Hall, Dries Van Langendonck and Adam Al-Zahari all came across the line a second or so behind him. But he did a cracking job. You've got to absolutely salute the Aussie. George Proudfort-Nalder, our race winner. Well, it'll be a delight to hear from them. Let's get back down in amongst our drivers. Matt is there. Let's hear from them.
Come and join us. What a great race that was, first off. A great fight there with Lewis Wherrell. You managed to keep your cool and hold on right till the checker flag.
Yeah, definitely. I think, really good race. Lewis, especially towards the end there, was definitely keeping me under pressure. Keeping me honest. But it was a good race. Enjoyed it a lot. Just over the moon. Over the moon to get my first win.
It's one of those circuits, though, you go into one corner, you think you've got the line, then there's always someone trying to get around the outside or back on the inside for the next corner, so you have to have your kind of wits about you.
Yeah, I think also because it's such a wide circuit as well, there's a lot of opportunities to, you can hang around the outside, you can cross them back, and it's a good circuit for racing, but not good when you're in the lead trying to defend, but no, we managed to hold on to it, which was good.
And as you said, your first win in British F4, it's taken you only 12 races to get to the top step, but you've now done it.
Yeah, no, it feels like absolutely amazing. I think learned a lot of lessons the hard way, but no, we've finally put it all together and over the moon.
And in terms of this race, of course, this was for the BRDC International Trophy, which is a massive thing here at Silverstone. The likes of Ascari, Lauda, Hunt have all won it previously. Now we get to add George Proudfort-Nalder to that. How does that feel?
Really cool. I think not really thought about it too much, to be honest, just sort of trying to keep cool and keep the pressure off. But no, it feels absolutely amazing to win it.
Good stuff, George. We'll see you on the podium very shortly. Well done.
Thank you.
There we go, that's George. We'll get Lewis Wherrell as well, who finished in second position. We'll grab Lewis over for a quick word. He's just having a talk to some of the team members down here and the team behind British F4. And Lewis had a cracking battle out there, as we said, with George Proudfort-Nalder. And we can get his thoughts now. Lewis, a cracking race there. I know you tried every trick in the book to try and get past George. You couldn't quite do it, but what a great race that was to end the weekend.
Started P4, got a really good start. Got past Jeff Hall really quickly again after the red flag as well. And then took me a couple laps to pass Theo. Eventually got past him and just did everything I could to catch George, but well done to him and the whole of Virtuosi. They did an amazing weekend. We'll move on to Zandvoort.
And it was pretty much you two out front, wasn't it? You kind of got the gap early on. You managed to have a good fight out there, but it was the battle between you and George at the front.
I had so much pace in the car the whole week. My mistake in qualifying, which probably costed me the win, if I had to say, but nevertheless, we're still leading the championship and we'll move on.
Yeah, what a solid weekend it's been for you. As I said, you've done your job ahead of Dries Van Langendonck, who hasn't had the best of weekends. But as you said as well, next stop Zandvoort. How are you looking forward to that one?
Really looking forward to it. We'll see what we can do.
Good stuff. Thanks, Lewis. Congratulations on a solid weekend for second place. And we'll bring in our third place driver as well, which was Theo Palmer. Theo, a nice way to end your weekend on the podium for the final race. And how did you find that one went?
Yeah, it was a very interesting race, let's say. I was just keeping it cool, making consistent laps and making sure I didn't lose the podium. But it's good points, though.
Very good indeed, yeah. Great race to end your weekend. The top two had a good battle. You couldn't quite catch them throughout that one, but you managed to keep everyone behind you as well.
Yeah, I was just making sure I was getting good exits, not looking at my mirrors and just hoping the checkered flag fold as quick as possible. But yeah, congratulations to them. They were very quick and yeah.
We know as well, Pirelli tyres across the course of a weekend are very limited, so you have to make sure they last. And did you have your best set for the last race of the weekend?
Yeah, best set for the last race because I was starting second. I was just making sure I wasn't sliding around because that damages the rear tyres.
And overall this weekend here at Silverstone, it's been good point score for you. Do you reckon it's been one of your positive weekends?
Yeah, definitely. I've made a lot of improvements from Snetterton in my race starts. But yeah, I think it's been a successful weekend and this is good momentum.
Good stuff. Good luck for Zandvoort as well. Thank you very much to Theo Palmer there as well, who finished in third place. We've got a wonderful podium to look forward to. So for those who have stuck around and want to join us for that podium, you surely can. We will be out at the back of the main pits here at Silverstone, which we're racing on this weekend. And of course, we'll have the rookie class podium to get through, along with the main British F4 podium as well, which will also include the award for the BRDC International Trophy. That is all to come here very shortly.
Oh, thank you, Matt. What a race it was. George Proudford-Nalder, the man who dominated in qualifying, the young Australian, winless so far in the British F4 season. That made a great start from Theo Palmer on the front row of the grid. Theo, as you just heard, starting with fresh tyres underneath him. And at the first start, running out wide, Ethan Jeff Hall coming back on, but then carnage in the midfield. Cars off in the gravel trap, damaged cars on the track, and the race control left with no option but to throw the red flag. So as we saw in both earlier races, Club Corner a real pinch point and clean-up operations were required, which meant that George Proudford-Nalder had the pressure of having to do it all again. Theo Palmer again making a strong start from the front row of the grid, this time looking to defend on the inside from Lewis Wherrell, who came from fourth place. Wherrell alongside with Ethan Jeff Hall coming down into the Stowe for the first time. Jeff Hall in the blue machine trying to put his way around the outside, but was unable to do so. Further back, trouble for the first of the Red Bull Junior cars. Cara coming back on safely, but her teammate went even further off to the back of the grid. And then Lewis Wherrell making his way into second place, into third place, I beg your pardon. And the battle further back between Van Langendonck and Zani. The Belgian driver getting his nose in front. Squabbling all the way down the order. Both the Red Bull Juniors had a torrid time in the final race. Right at the back of the field, making contact was Ansi Shun of China, and it boiled down to Lewis Wherrell on the final lap and George Proudford-Nalder. After these attempts by Lewis to get by on the penultimate lap, he actually crossed the start-finish line to begin the final lap 18 hundredths of a second in front, making thousandths of a second in front, but at the checkered flag it was victory for George Proudford-Nalder, and he becomes another Australian name to win the international trophy, joining the likes of Alberto Ascari and Sterling Moss and Jim Clark and Jackie Stewart and Graham Hill and Niki Lauda and compatriots Jack Brabham and Mark Webber. The newest winner of the international trophy, George Proudford-Nalder, the 8th different winner of the 2026 Wera Tools F4 British Championship, certified by FIA, and his first victory in a car. So congratulations to him. His first race win comes in dramatic circumstances after a fantastic showdown with the new championship leader Lewis Wherrell, and a great last couple of laps of sterling defence under great attack.
At Zandvoort in just a few weeks' time.
We're now ready for our podium presentation then for round 12 of the Wera Tools British F4 Championship certified by FIA. We have got the CEO of Motorsport UK, Hugh Chambers, to do the presentation for our final podium of the weekend. We'll start with the rookie category and we'll bring the drivers up in reverse order, starting with third place, Timo Junglin. Well done, Timo. Congratulations. Please do show your appreciation for the drivers as they work their way onto the podium. Timo receives his trophy for third place. Second place in the Rookie Cup goes the way of Dries Van Langendonck. Well done to Dries. Good weekend within the Rookie Cup here at Silverstone. So he heads to the far end to receive the trophy from Hugh. And at the top step of the podium in the Rookie Cup, Wherrell. Well done, Lewis. Congratulations to Lewis, who is the tall figure who takes the tallest step on our podium. So he receives the trophy from Hugh. We'll get some photos with the drivers individually, and then we'll gather them all together on the top step of our podium here at Silverstone. So they'll all huddle together as best as they possibly can for a wonderful group photo. And Hugh will have a picture with the three drivers from the Rookie Cup as well. So there you go. Give a cheer for our three drivers within the Rookie Cup once again. We'll have some of them back on the main podium very shortly. We'll now move on to that main podium. And again, reverse order. So starting with third place, we'll welcome Theo Palmer. Well done, Theo. Congratulations to him as he works his way to the podium, receives his trophy from Hugh Chambers. We'll then move to our second place driver, which is Wherrell. Congratulations to Lewis as well. Second trophy of the race for him, and gets his congratulations from Theo. And then to the top step of our podium is going to be that for the first time in British F4, George Proudford-Nalder. Well done, George. And a lovely cheer he gets for that as well. He gets the biggest trophy of all for finishing in first place. We'll also welcome our winning team representative, which is going to be from Virtuosi Racing. Well done to Virtuosi. They receive that trophy from Hugh Chambers down the end. We're going to get a photo with the drivers and their trophy all together with big smiles on their face, which is nice to see. They'll then get themselves onto the three steps of the podium. We've got 5 people to gather into this photo with, of course, team representative Hugh Chambers, the CEO of Motorsport UK, and, of course, the 3 drivers as well. They have one final photo together, the winning driver and the winning team. And for now, we're going to award the trophy to our winning driver here at Silverstone. It's been a wonderful weekend, and, of course, it's all been for this. So we can now welcome back onto the podium George Proudford-Nalder, who is the winner of our BRDC International Trophy for 2026. He is absolutely delighted with that. It's been on show down here all weekend long. It's a wonderful, wonderful trophy that George is very delighted to have. Of course, he follows in the names of the likes of Ascari, with, of course, James Hunt, with Niki Lauda as well. And as he poses with that trophy, we can now have the national anthem of the winning driver. A very proud moment for our BRDC International Trophy winner for 2026. Another round of applause for George Proudford-Nalder, who takes the honours for this year. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for a wonderful podium. We very much hope you enjoyed that for the Wera Tools British F4 Championship certified by FA. That was your podium presentation for round 12 of this year's championship.
Well, congratulations to all of our podium finishers in the rookies category, and particularly overall, and especially to George Proudford-Nalder. Probably not aware much before this weekend even of the existence of the International Trophy, but he adds his name to the list of illustrious Aussies that have won it, including Blackjack Brabham and Mark Webber, both of whom went on, of course, Brabham to found his own team and become multiple Formula One champion, and Webber to race successfully in Formula One and elsewhere. So where do we see George Proudford-Nalder in the future? Well, it's going to be interesting, Josh, to see where these young drivers do turn up and in how many years before we see some of them on the grid in mid-July at Silverstone in a car for the British Grand Prix.
That's certainly, I'm sure, all of their aims at this point of their career, but as we know in motorsport things can change, but there are now so many opportunities in international motorsport. Should a Formula 1 career not be the way to go, Le Mans in a couple of weeks' time is a very good option as well.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to be a professional racing driver, there is a big world of sports cars. But for now, George Proudford-Nalder is the winner of the revived International Trophy and the latest, the 8th different winner in a race in the 2026 Wera Tools F4 British Championship certified by FIA. And that is it from Silverstone in the UK for today. And thank you very much indeed for joining us. On behalf of Josh and me, Martin Haven, we will be saying goodbye from Silverstone from all the crew here. Thanks for joining us wherever you have been. I hope you enjoyed the entertainment as much as we did. And once more, congratulations to the newest winner of the International Trophy, Australia's George Proudford-Nalder.